Hey Slavic Vikings, and welcome to Alphabet Tier List. So what I find interesting is that I'm the first person on YouTube to do this kind of tier list of different alphabets. There have been alphabet tier lists where people tier the letters, but I'm doing something different here. So here you can see I found some interesting alphabets that interested me. I tried to get a big variety of alphabets, and yeah, let's see how I rate these. Oh yeah, and I would also like to add that if you disagree with any of these ratings, I would just like to say that you're wrong and I have the right opinion. So let's get on started with the obvious Danish alphabet. So this is kind of an alphabet, but also not, because it basically just takes the Latin alphabet or the English alphabet and add some vowel letters to it. It is kind of iconic and no language sounds like Danish because of it, but it is really unpractical because of all the vowels. They added 3 vowels because they were like, oh, the Latin alphabet doesn't have enough letters to... Is actually how it happened. So they just invented a couple more. So it's really unpractical, just copies the Latin alphabet, so I'm putting it in D tier. So while we are on the topic, let's get to the Latin alphabet. So the alphabet that English people use, that the English language uses. So this alphabet is like the starting stone to many different alphabets, so it must be pretty good, right? Well, it is definitely not perfect, because you can see that in English words, where different letters make different sounds depending on context, etc, etc. So I do think it has a bit too little letters to be clear enough, but it is a pretty easy alphabet, I would say, so it is going in B tier. Another alphabet that came out of the Latin alphabet, wait, did I say that right? Yeah, the Latin alphabet is Polish. Here is Polish, kind of cut it out weird. So Polish is an alphabet deep in my heart. It added many and many different letters and combination of letters. I think the Polish alphabet is really practical, since the Polish alphabet has so many different sounds. The Polish language for native speakers is very clear in contrast to Danish. Also, I really like how intimidating Polish is to other people and familiar at the same time to native Polish speakers. So I'm putting Polish in A. It's pretty high up there. There might be something up here with it, but I'm not sure. The next alphabet on our list is Proto-Sinaitic alphabet. And this alphabet is often considered to be one of the first, or even the first alphabet in the world, because it was the first one found. And almost every language on Earth derives from it. And this is the one right here. Surprisingly, it is quite simple for its time. Like later on will come the Egyptian alphabet and way more complicated ones. But surprisingly, it looked pretty easy to write. There might be alphabets before it, but this one was the first one written in stone. It's funny because we don't actually know for how many years people have been using the writing system. Just because someone wrote on a stone, that's where we assume people started writing. But think how many years had to pass of text until someone wrote something on stone. When have you last time wrote something on stone? Exactly. So this alphabet is kind of a legend. Without it, none of our alphabets would exist. So I'm putting it in S tier. And I think it might be the only S tier on this list. We'll see. I haven't chosen my answers yet. I'm just going with the flow. I also might change the results later if I get some more context or I get some more perspective when they're all next to each other. So this isn't set in stone, just like the alphabet is right here. I can change it later. So while we're on ancient alphabets, let's go to the Egyptian alphabet, most commonly known as hieroglyphs. So this one I think is really cool, extremely unique. It is pretty clear to translate and it is mostly used on like old runestones. I doubt it was used practically because it also was very impractical. imagine every time you wanted to write something, you had to draw a drawing of birds and eyes and gods and limbs and stuff. So for being iconic, it gets many points, but then also it gets some minus points for being extremely impractical. So this alphabet is going to B tier, right next to the Latin alphabet.
Yeah.
Then next alphabet on this list is gonna be Cyrillic, or more commonly known as Russian. So this might be one of the most iconic alphabets in the world, first of all. Second of all, many countries use it. I don't know if it can get the credit for that, since it kind of invaded the countries and occupied the countries it was in, but I'll give it a bit of points for that anyway. People, almost every person in the world will immediately recognize the Russian alphabet, which I don't think is the case with most other alphabets. I really like the Russian alphabet, but I will say not every letter suits each other. I feel like you could separate many letters and they would look like from totally different alphabets. And they also use an inversed 3, which is kind of weird. But other than that, it's a pretty cool alphabet. It is going in C tier. Unless I change it later, of course. So to be honest, I got off with the easiest alphabets right now. The most simple ones, or the ones I know most about. So this will be a bit harder from now on. So I feel like I should mention that many of these are considered scripts instead of alphabets because how you write them, etc. But I'm just gonna call all of these alphabets so to make it more simple. So next up on the list, we have Burmese, which I believe is this, if I remember correctly. And Burmese, I think, is an interesting language, or sorry, alphabet. This alphabet is used, and also the language, in Myanmar, which is an Asian country next to Thailand. This alphabet looks pretty cool, but that's the only thing going for it that is positive, I'm afraid. The alphabet is kind of built with these circles, but not like full circles. First of all, circles are pretty hard to draw, and imagine every time you wrote a letter, you would have to draw a new circle. That's one minus. Second minus, many letters look way too similar. So from far away, or if you're quickly reading something, I believe it will get confusing. Also, it is kind of sad that they didn't go all the way with the circles, because so now the language kind of looks like a mixture of these half circles and weird signs. And these weird signs sometimes are like really long. So sometimes when you would read a Burmese text, you would get all these cool circles like in a long line, and then an ugly sign just popping out of it. It doesn't really suit it. So Burmese, I believe, is going in F tier. Wait, which one was it? This one. F tier. Sorry, Burmesians. It's not your fault. We forgive you. We forgive your awful alphabet. And we move on. Next alphabet on this list is the Hindi or Indian or Devanagari alphabet, which is used. I think it's really interesting to me because when it works in a sentence, it has this really nice line at the top, which in my opinion is quite beautiful. And in contrast to the Burmese alphabet, they don't have like just random stops that pop out. It is kind of a minus that the different signs are really complicated, like they can be a bit confusing, but I feel like they're differentiated enough to not have the same problem as the Burmesian one. I love the Hindi alphabet. The language is different in my opinion, but the Devanagari alphabet is getting a tier. Yeah, that's right, next to Polish. Kind of weird to have these next to each other, but whatever. Oh yeah, I should do the thing where the ones to the left are my most favorite of like that tier. So here, do I prefer Egyptian or Latin? I would say I prefer Egyptian. It's cooler. And with this one, do I prefer Polish alphabet or Hindi? This is gonna be a hard one. I think I'll choose Polish. Nah, okay, you know what? I'll choose Hindi. Polish just copied the Latin one. Maybe I'll change my mind later, but this is my decision now. So next up on the list, we have Tibetan, spoken and written in Tibet, I believe. So the Tibetan alphabet is kind of trying to do the same thing as the Hindi alphabet, since they have this like kind of line at the top of some of their letters, but they kind of ruined it and it breaks sometimes, so they don't get any points for that. It actually is kind of pointless just sitting there, it isn't adding any. I can imagine it feeling good to write, like on an everyday basis. They do get points for every letter looking very distinguishable. They are pretty elegant, nothing special about them to be honest. So they're getting a C. And I do prefer the Russian alphabet or the Cyrillic alphabet than the Tibetan one. That's why this one is more on the right. That's how tier lists work, I think. Next up, we have Hangul, or the Korean alphabet. This one is also very iconic. I believe if a random person just sees the Korean alphabet or like a Korean word, they'll recognize that it's Korean. That can't be said about many of these. And also, the Korean alphabet does this really cool thing, similarly to the Japanese alphabet, which I don't have on this list, where like because the alphabet works in a way where you don't segregate them in consonants and vowels. Every letter is like a combination of a consonant and a vowel, which kind of is a minus, I'm gonna be honest, but that's the only minus with this language. It's a minus because you have to have like 100 signs or something instead of like 25. And I'll tell you why the Korean system is cool. So, every letter or like every character that begins with G is similar, and every letter that begins with D is similar, and then every letter that begins with A is similar, etc., etc. So you end up with this very cool table of every single letter, and I believe this would be extremely convenient in everyday life in Korea, and that's why this alphabet is getting an S tier, next to the oldest language or alphabet on Earth known. Next up, we have the Greek alphabet. Greek, similarly to the Russian alphabet, has many similarities to the Latin alphabet, and then they have something extra. And the extra letters is what makes Greek amazing, or the Greek alphabet. They literally have an omega sign in their language. And then they also have a cool, like, fork. Wait, what are those weapons called? A trident. I had to Google that real quick. They have a trident, they have the omega sign. They have, like, a cool phi sign. A, like, square E. A freaking triangle. And these letters are so cool, they kind of moved to Latin-speaking, actually, no, every language on Earth is the mathematical language. The omega sign and all these, or like a lot of these, are used in math, which I think is very cool. The Greek language does get a big minus for looking kind of cringe, bro, when not writing in capital letters. It's kind of ugly. Here you can see it. But it's okay, it's nothing special. And for all those reasons, the Greek alphabet... Wait, where is the Greek alphabet? Right here. Here we can see all the beautiful letters in capital, because lowercase they look pretty shitty. For all these reasons, the Greek alphabet is going to... I can't decide. B tier. Next up, we have Arabic, the Arabic alphabet. So, you must say right now, sitting in your chair at home. The Arabic alphabet must be pretty good, since it is used in so many countries. Yeah, well, it is pretty cool. The signs are very distinct. It looks extremely cool. Like, I have an Arabic friend that has showed me like my name in Arabic and stuff, and looks really cool. It does cool throat sounds. Okay, but that's not the alphabet, never mind. It has only 28 letters. So overall, Arabic, pretty cool language. Except the Arabic language is written from right to left, and most of the world is right-handed, also in the Arabic countries. And for that reason, when writing on paper with a pen or pencil, wouldn't your hand get dirty? Like from the pen? Imagine, like, pick up your hand right now and pretend you're writing with your right hand from left to right, and you can see your hand does not touch what you just wrote. Now do the same thing, but write from right to left. You can see that if you're supporting the pen by putting your hand on the table, your hand will get totally dirty from the pencil or pen. I'm not sure if I said that correctly. And for that reason, that's a big minus. I've asked my Egyptian... And for that reason, Egyptian, where can I find that? Or not Egyptian. I guess technically Egyptian, since Arabic is used in Egypt. But for that reason, Arabic, which is this one, I believe, is getting a C tier. It would be like up here somewhere if it not from right to left writing, which is also confusing. Next up, we have Canadian syllabic alphabet, which I believe is spoken and written in northern Canada and I think Greenland, or like in Greenland there's like a different dialect of it. And this might be my favorite alphabet in the world. So I'm gonna immediately put it in S tier. This one right here, like this cool pattern thing. The reason why I love this alphabet is, one, it uses the same system as Korean, where they have the similar sounds for every consonant and vowel. Or I'm pretty sure they only use it for vowel, but that's still enough. But it looks really cool with the triangles, and it looks extremely cool and simple, which the Korean alphabet doesn't have. It looks pretty complicated, especially when there's a lot of them next to each other. And that's the reason why I'm gonna put Korean down here. It's gonna be on the top though, so don't worry. The Canadian syllabic alphabet, by far my favorite alphabet. Just look how cool it is. Next up on the list, we have Thaana or Thaana. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but it's basically the alphabet used in the Maldives, which is in the middle of nowhere. So the reason why I included this alphabet is because it looks I imagine it being comfortable in handwriting, but that is pretty much the only thing going for it. If you're in the middle of nowhere on a small island, I imagine you should have a lot of time to work on a good alphabet, and I cannot see that reflected in theirs. All the characters are very similar, which is a big minus. You don't have that many signs. You have like different ways for every sign. It's kind of weird. But yeah, the good thing going for it is it looks really comfortable to have in handwriting, which I believe nowadays is not that important. It also comes from Arabic, which is kind of weird since it's not really similar. But yeah, so where is it? I'm pretty sure it's this one. Wait, I have to double check. Yes, it is. Also, I don't know what is written on this profile thing, so I don't take any accountability for what's written on it. Maybe it's some like political racist term. I don't know. I have no control. But for all those reasons, or I guess like two, it is going in D tier, next to my beloved Danish. Oh, would you look at that? the Danish alphabet has like a circle, and the Thaana alphabet also has a circle. How cool is that? But yeah, I think Danish is slightly better than Thaana. Okay, so I just noticed that this is here, and I recognized that it is the Tibetan alphabet, but then I remembered I already ranked the Tibetan alphabet. So for some reasons I have two pictures of it, so just ignore this thing right here. But moving on, we have the Standard Galactic Alphabet. Ooh, how interesting. Only real people of culture recognize this one, because this is the Minecraft enchantment table alphabet. So this alphabet works really good in pixel form, which is the reason why it was created. The contrast between the letters, I think, is a bit too much. It is a meme alphabet. I never said I would say those two words next to each other. But for those reasons, it is getting a B tier, I guess. Oh, would you look at that? We create like a perfectly balanced pyramid. That's kind of cool. Yeah, and it's going at the end. Oh, at the end of the pyramid. Next up, we have the Thai alphabet, or the Thai script. So at first, when I saw the Thai alphabet, which probably was when I was in Thailand, was that it had a lot of circles. And like, just like when I said with the Burmese alphabet, I didn't like the pointless circles. It kind of suits in the Thai alphabet. I feel like the Thai alphabet without the cool circles, first of all, would be too basic, and second of all, the characters would be too hard to distinguish in between themselves. The Thai alphabet is also really iconic. I feel like you would recognize this one, maybe. It's pretty, it suits Thai culture, and for those reasons I'm putting it in A tier. And I'm putting it at the end. Oh shit, that's not, I took the wrong one. Which one is it? It's this one, I believe, and it is going in A tier. It goes at the end, because I still believe these are better. So next up, we have the Urdu alphabet, used in Pakistan. So immediately you might notice that the Urdu alphabet is really similar to the Arabic one, but it is not. It actually is derived from the Persian alphabet, which I like the Persian alphabet, but I think they just took the Persian alphabet, added a pinch of Arabic, and made it look really bad. So it is extremely confusing. It has like 40 letters with weird modifications that are very hard to notice. No hate to Pakistanis, it's just your alphabet. I'm sure the Indians will be happy about this decision, because I'm putting Urdu in F tier, if I can find F tier. Here is, wait, why did I say trying to find F tier? F tier is right here. I meant try to find the template I chose. Sorry Urdu, you're going in F tier, and I actually dislike you more than this language, which was the Burmese one. Now we're on to our last two alphabets. Next up, the Hebrew alphabet, used mostly in Israel. Another very iconic alphabet. I would immediately recognize the Hebrew alphabet. I think it is really cool and suits its culture. One of the letters even looks like a Hanakucha, which I think is kind of funny. I don't know if I mentioned, but it only has 22 letters, which are very distinguished, which makes it simple, which I like a lot. Very cool. I'm also a fan of the way they use the dots to change the pronunciation of words. Every time I see the Hebrew alphabet, it fascinates me a bit. And that is the reason the Hebrew alphabet is getting an A tier. The last alphabet on our list is Ethiopic. So the alphabet used in Ethiopia, also called GEs. I'm definitely not pronouncing that right. It looks pretty cool. I love the different contrast of letters. Even after the giant contrast of letters, they somehow suit themselves with their simplicity. It also reminds me of ancient languages or ancient alphabets, which I'm into. Overall, pretty cool language. It is getting a B tier, and I'm moving it up in front of Greek, so it's like perfectly in the middle. So this is my gut feeling of every language. Ignore this, as I told you, it's the Tibetan one. Do I want to make any changes is what I'm asking myself now. Yeah, I do. I want to move the Thai alphabet behind the Hebrew one. And I want to put the epic Minecraft alphabet in front of Greek. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with my decision. Write down in the comments below if I used your alphabet, which I probably did since there is a Latin one here. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more videos like this, consider subscribing. And as always, farewell, żegnam, and goodbye.